Hi everyone and welcome into this Adobe Illustrator tutorial. Dom Designs here, and today we're going to take a look at how to create a pizza restaurant logo badge in Adobe Illustrator from Sketch. As always, if you're new to the channel and you love Adobe Illustrator process videos and tutorials, then hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so you never miss my weekly uploads. So let's dive into this right away. In this video, I will show you how I go about creating logos for my clients. So before starting any logo design on Illustrator, I like to lay down some quick concept sketches of what I want the logo to look like. It doesn't have to be a pro level sketch. As you can see here, I'm doing these pretty quickly just to get the ideas out of my head. So I'm liking this third one I created, so what I will do is redraw it in a more refined version. Great, so once we're done with the sketch, I will take a picture of it with my phone and transfer it on a canvas in Adobe Illustrator. We're on our Adobe Illustrator canvas, and what I did is I created a 1920 by 1080p canvas in Illustrator, as you can see here. And let's set it up. So let's go down to our layer panel, and we're going to rename this to template. Perfect. So next what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our sketch. Let's rotate this. Let's center it. Next, I'm going to go down to my template. And we're just going to click on template over here. It will dim down the image to 50%. And we're going to click on OK. Let's create a new layer and name it outline. Perfect. We're going to go to our color options and we're going to take out the fill. For the stroke, I'm going to use this dark brown reddish color at about an 7 points thickness with rounded caps and corners. Now let's start tracing our artwork. First things first is we're going to do the main shape, which is a triangle. So I'm going to go to the tools on the side and we're going to hold down and we're going to select the polygon tool. Let's click, and we have 6 over here, so we're going to change this to 3 because the triangle has 3 corners or sides. And let's center it. Perfect. I'll rotate it, make it bigger like this, stretch it down. I'm going to go past our sketch. The reason why is because we want to curve this over here and we're going to need space. This looks pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go down at the bottom with the direct selection tool. Let's curve this a little bit like this. Now I don't want this line at the top, so I'm going to select this and I'm going to go to the pen tool right over here. And you should see a little plus sign next to our cursor. That means that we're able to add an anchor point. So I'm just going to click, and then with the direct selection tool, I'm going to delete it. Don't worry for these because we're going to delete this after once we do the crust. Speaking of the crust, let's go ahead and do it. So for this, I'm going to take the pen tool and I'm going to draw a line. Let's make sure to center it. Now this line, we're going to increase the stroke size to about 85. I'm going to go with 85. Let's bring this in a little bit like that. And now we're going to want to curve this line. So what we want to do is we want to bend this to create the curve of the crust. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to select our stroke. I'm going to go to Effects, Warp, and Arc. We're going to curve this horizontally, but it's a little bit too much. So let's drop it down to about 15. I'm going to go with 18%. Perfect. Now let's bring this in just a little bit more. And we kind of have the shape now. Let's select it, go to the object and expand appearance to create a stroke out of it. Perfect. And then we're going to turn this into a shape by going to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. And now we have a shape. So let's use the eyedropper tool and select our stroke. And there's our crust. This isn't too bad. Now let's get rid of these lines over here. So what I do is I take the shape builder to do this. So let's select our two lines, basically everything, and go to the shape builder, which is also Shift M on your keyboard. And with Option down on your keyboard, and if you click on the stroke, you're able to delete it. Perfect. And we already have the main shape of our pizza going. So let's start by giving our pizza this melted cheese effect that I have going on. I'm going to start with this side, and I'm going to come over here and do the other side. For this, what I like to do is I'm going to take a circle. Let's go to the ellipse tool and create a perfect circle. Like so. Let's bring it in a little bit. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the circle, and with the pen tool, I'm going to add a few anchor points. Like this. And I'm going to add one right here on the line where it meets. Now let's delete these to give it that effect over here. And now we're going to select this. And as you can see, our lines are not touching. That's okay. Just take the stroke and make sure it's hitting that line. Now that they're touching, we can take everything, go to the shape builder tool, and just delete this line that we don't need. Like so. So we have something going on over here. Now we want to curve this part. But Illustrator is not giving us the option to do so. Usually there's a little circle right over here and you're able to curve it. That's all right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do Command Y on my keyboard. And as you can see, our strokes are kind of overlapping. So I'm going to take this stroke. So I want to make sure it touches like this. Let's do Command Y again. And what I'm going to do is with the selection arrow key, I'm going to select them both and join. And as you can see, it gives us the option to curve. And I'm just going to curve it like this to give it the melted effect. I'm going to do the same to the right side. Awesome. So let's do one of my favorite toppings, the pepperoni. I'll go to the effect, warp, and I'm gonna take arc again. Awesome. I'm gonna go to the object menu and expand appearance to turn it into a shape, and I'm just gonna resize it. Now we have overlapping lines, not a problem. Let's take the pepperoni and the pizza slice. And we're gonna go to the shape builder. And as you can see, we have options here. But by holding Option down on your keyboard, if you go on the stroke, you're able to delete it. Like so. Now let's add that spinach part right here. Actually, before we add this finished part, let's add some more melting pieces. This should be really easy. Let's bring up the pen tool. And what I'll do is I'll just click something like this. Doesn't have to be accurate. And then with the direct selection tool, I'll select these 2 points, curve it, and I'll curve this. Let's bring this in a little bit. Here's a piece of melted cheese. I'm gonna duplicate it, reflect it, and place it right here. Awesome. Now let's do the spinach. For this, I'm going to use 2 ellipses. So let's make one. And then what I'll do is I'll copy over a second one, like so. Select everything. Take the shape builder tool. With option down on your keyboard, let's delete these 2. And then let's click in the middle to confirm the shape. Awesome. So we have a leaf looking effect. I want the leaf to be kind of distorted, so I'm going to go back to the effect menu, warp, arc. And I'm just going to give it a small arc, 10%. Let's confirm the shape by expand appearance. Resize it. Awesome. Now let's do the small detail in here with the pen tool. That should be good. Let's make the stroke thinner. And now I want to taper in this stroke. So I'm going to select it. And this time I'll take the width tool, which is Shift plus W on your keyboard. And let's play around with the stroke by doing something like this. Let's taper it in. Let's bring this down. And we have that leaf effect. Let's select them both. Let's place it like this. And now we could just copy these and resize them to our liking. So now let's do this one last piece over here. I want the crust to seem like it's burnt a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll select the whole crust and go to the object menu, path, offset path. This should give us a box. Let's play with the units, bring it down to about 14, minus 14, and press on OK. With the direct selection tool, A, I'm just going to delete these points. And now with the pen tool, I'm going to create some gaps. And I'll just delete. Perfect. Finally, I'm going to select the stroke, bring up the width tool, and just taper in the ends of these strokes a little bit. So the main outline of our pizza is completed. So let's move on to the coloring part. So let's go to our layer panel and create a new layer below the outline layer and name it color. Then what we're going to do is we're going to select everything. And we're going to go back to our layer panel and we're going to hold down Option on our keyboard, or I think Alt on PC. And we're going to take this little red square and we're going to bring it down to the color layer. This should create a copy. So now we're going to lock the outline layer and close it off, visibility. And now what we're going to do is we're going to delete everything that's within the pizza. Now let's select everything once again, and I'll bring down the stroke size to about a 4. And we're going to turn this into a shape. So we're going to go to the object menu and outline the stroke. And let's unite them because as you can see, it's a bunch of different shapes all mashed up together. So let's go to the Pathfinder panel, which is right over here, and we're going to click on Unite. And finally, we're going to right click and release Compound Path. And what I'll do is I'll delete the outer shape, like so. So now we have our crust, our cheese, our pepperoni. So very easily, we'll select the crust. I have this colored already picked out, which is a brownish color. Let's give this the cheese color and the pepperoni. Let's go back to the outline layer. Let's click the eye so we could see everything. And now all we have to do is just fill in the gaps over here with color. And there you go. The base colors are set up, and now let's add some shadows and a little bit of highlights. So let's give some shadows to our pepperoni. So what I'll do is I'll select the pepperoni color and go to the object menu, and I'll do copy and paste in place twice. Now this creates 3 layers superimposed on each other. We're going to take the top layer, we're going to move it over like so, maybe resize it a little bit, and as you can see, it creates this half moon effect of a gap. Now let's go to the shape builder tool, with option selected on your keyboard, just delete it. Now we have this half moon. Let's easily give it a darker red shade, and I'm going to go to the transparency palette and dim it down to 50%. And there's our first shadow. Let's do the same for these. Now I want to give it a highlight. So you know what? What I'm going to do is these 2 pieces that I've created over here are strokes. I'm going to go to the outline. I'm going to select them and I'll drag it down to the color layer without holding down option on your keyboard. Let's close the outline layer or lock it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to increase the stroke size like so. Let's delete this one. Let's place it, and we're going to turn this into a shape. Path, outline stroke. And then give it our highlight color. Awesome. Let's finish off with a few little details over here. So I'll take the ellipse tool, and I'm just going to draw To rotate, I use R on my keyboard, which brings up the rotate tool. And there's the crust. And finally, let's give some shadows to our pizza where the cheese part is. So I'm going to select a darker orange color. And with the pen tool, I'm just going to draw something like this. Now let's go over everything. Don't worry, because we're going to use the shape builder tool to delete this part. Let's select it and the cheese. Go to the shape builder tool, and with option down on our keyboard, you can see the minus sign. Let's delete the outer shape. Now let's take this and the lighter cheese color, arrange and send it to back. And I'm going to dim down the opacity of the shadow to about a 60%. This is looking really good. Let's finalize our pepperoni with a few little circles within it. And there you have it, everyone. The pizza icon is done. Alright, so we're going to want to finish up our logo. So the name of the company is called Pizza Express Restaurant. We're going to select everything, right click, and group. You could also do Command or Control G. Now what's going to happen here is we're going to play around with the size. So if I change the size, as you can see, our stroke stays the same, so it doesn't look good. And if I make it smaller, what happens is our stroke is too thick for the size of it. So if you do Command K, or if you go to your system preferences, we're going to click on Scale, Strokes, and Effects. Now if I select the pizza and make it bigger, it stays the same look. Doesn't really change. Same if I make it smaller. We want our icon to be within a circle. Let's go to the layer panel, double click, click on pizza, and lock the layer. Let's press below, and let's call this badge. So we're going to create a circular badge. So let's create an ellipse about this big. Next up is we're going to want to have text going around this badge. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this circle, and we're going to do Command C, Command F to create a copy. And then with Option and Shift down on your keyboard, let's bring in something like this as a second circle. Now let's make our text wrap around this circle, this inner circle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Type tool, hold down and click Type on Path. And then we can just click on this circle. And we have a bunch of lorem ipsum text showing up. No problem. The name of the company is Pizza Express. Let's make the font size bigger. Make sure we have it centered. Let's make the font size much bigger, like so. And now we have these two lines over here. If I drag them, I'm able to play around with where the text would be. So let's play around with it until we get our pizza at the top centered. Oops. So now that it's centered, let's change our font. One of my favorite fonts is Gotham. Let's go with a Gotham black. And let's give it the same color as our stroke, that brown color. I'm just going to play around with the font size, something like this. And I'm going to want to play with the spacing as well. So let's go to the tool panel on the right side, go to the character, and play with the tracking. And we have Pizza Express written at the top. Now we want restaurant at the bottom. So I'm going to take this and do a Command C, Command F, which will create a copy. So I'm going to take this one, and I believe if you play with these cursors, you can have something like this. And then this line over here, you're able to kind of play around with it. It's very tricky, very sensitive, but it's all right. It's very tricky. I've always struggled with this part, but we're gonna get it. Finally, we got it. But we want the same spacing to be at the top and at the bottom. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select the Pizza Express, holding down Shift and Option on your keyboard. I'm gonna increase it until we get to the very top of, just like so. Now our font is too big, so we could just go with the eyedropper tool and get the same size font and just change this to restaurant, like so. Loving this so far. to finish it off, I'm going to want to do something over here to kind of fill in this gap. We have these really pretty spinach looking things, so maybe I could use this to add over here. So let's create a different type of leaf. Perfect. Let's resize it. We're going to go to Effects. We're going to go to Warp, Arc. We're going to arc it just a little bit more. Something like this. Something that will go along the edge of our badge. Let's confirm the shape by going to Object, Expand Appearance. Let's resize it a little bit. And now let's give it that inner leaf effect. So for that, I'm going to take the pen tool. I'm going to draw a line like this. I'm then going to take the curvature tool. And I'm just going to curve it like so. Perfect. Let's make a copy of this and invert the stroke to fill. And let's get our green color, like so. And now let's place it back on top. And send it to back. Let's do something like this. There you go. Let's select it. Group it, and let's bring it here. And there you have it, everyone. This is how I designed a logo illustration from Sketch in Adobe Illustrator. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and let me know if you'd like to see more real-time voiceover tutorials in my future videos. Cheers, everyone!